get the extra goblin effect, so that's always cool. Like, we could take a Devouring Swarm here, I suppose, but I want to keep the goblin theme going. And I think Firestarter is a better card. Not sure exactly how to value Smallpox. I think it's an interesting card. Not exactly sure if it's what I want to be doing, but it definitely seems interesting to me. But I think here we're aggressive enough that we just want to pick up like the bats. Just kind of get a few more creatures out there, a little bit more critical mass. Like, Distress is fine also. But I mean, if we're going to be playing any of these falter effects, I think it's better to have a larger amount of creatures. It also makes our war paint better. So let's see. At this point, between Shade and Deathmark, I mean, Deathmark is a very nice sideboard card. We've got 26 playables. Shade is good for closing out games, definitely, but I think I'm going to take the Deathmark here, just because it's nice to have a good, solid sideboard plan, and definitely taking Tormented Soul. I believe Soul is much better than Scepter here. It's good to have a nice sideboard plan, and we've got tons of playables here, so I'm not even worried about that. Swiftfoot Boots is actually not a bad sideboard card. Once again, against the Gideon's Lawkeeper kind of deck, it's, fairly relevant. Got 19 creatures. We actually could pick up a second War Paint here. Probably not going to, but Scepter's fine. We're probably not playing either card, just to be honest. So 31 playables here. So I'm liking how this deck is looking. I mean, we've got a number of good goblins. Obviously it may not have turned out this way, but we'll see how this archetype works. Lure is a funny card. In the last 2 drafts, I got blown out by my opponent playing Lure in the first round both times. So, it's I don't think it's a very, highly picked card, but definitely a card to keep your eyes open for, because you can certainly just lose a game out of nowhere if your opponent plays a Lure and you're not ready for it. So, just a note to keep in mind. And we'll see you back here in a minute for deck building. Okay, here we are with 23. I think that I might want to go to 24 just for maximum threat density. Also, we have a fairly low late drop count. So, I mean, we could stay at 23 to keep a little bit more mana for like Consume Spirit, make sure we're able to play our late drops. So at this point, I'm trying to decide if I want Tutor or if I just want another Crumbling Colossus. I think that keeping the Hideous Visage and the Tectonic Rift on the board is fine. If we're up against like a lot of flyers, or the same color creatures, it's going to be, not that good. I am thinking about bringing in Disentomb here to go to 24, just because if we can recur like a Goblin Chieftain or like an Outcasts, or even like a Runescar Demon, it can be pretty game-breaking. Even like a little guy, like an Arsonist, if we have like a Goblin Chieftain in play, it can really just go the distance there. So, the other card I'm thinking about is Fling, although with Fling I think I'm a little more hesitant, just because, you know, the power level of our creatures is pretty low in terms of, you know, high power. Like we have the Colossus, we have the, you know, the Runescarred Demon as potential fling targets, but you know, we don't have any active aggression or active treason effects. So I think that you know, there could also be an argument for Scepter, but I think we've got 2 Fire Slingers and the Arsonist and the Tormented Soul, so I'm not worried about Bloodthirst. I think I might just end up going with I kind of want to find a way to get a second Crumbling Colossus in here, because if we can push through the early damage, like, it's going to be so much damage late game. But I think I'm going to hedge with the Tutor, just because if we have Tutor, you know, we can pick up our Doomblade in a pinch. We can, if we have the mana, we can go and get Runescarred Demon. I think there's enough targets that Tutor is actually going to be, you know, a pretty good effect. Like if we have a bunch of goblins and we can go get like Automaton or Chieftain. Yeah, so I think we're going to try it this way and see how it works out for us. Okay, so it's Magic Online is saying 10-6. We do have the Dragon Skull Summon, which will help out considerably. So I think that we're actually going to go, I think we're going to go 8-7. We really want to make sure we have enough, you know, early mana for our turn 1 Fire Slinger or turn 1 Arsonist. You know, we do want the double black and more black for Consume Spirits, of course. So I think that 8-7 looks good. Alright, we will see you in round 1. Okay guys, here we are for round 1. I'm definitely going to be playing first with this deck. Very aggressive. Hand looks just fine. We've got our colors. Hopefully draw into some more threats or some more land. And we'll get some sort of idea for what our opponent's playing. If he wants to shock our Arsonist, that is just fine. The nice thing is we can just disentomb it and replay it, assuming we don't draw anything else. Or we could just play a Tormented Soul and then put a Warpaint on it next turn. So like here we can disentomb the Arsonist, throw on Warpaint. Or we could just, you know, Consume Spirit this guy, but I mean there's no reason to at the moment. So here, I mean, I could disentomb this guy, you know, in case I don't draw land next turn. But if I do draw land, I want to be able to play my Gravedigger to get value. So I think I'm actually just going to pass here, Because it doesn't really, I mean, I lose, maybe 1 mana, but I can still play it next turn and recur it if I don't draw land. Okay, so at this point, yeah, I mean, at this point we want to kill the Siren, just because, well, I mean, we could just, okay, so let's see here. We could just end up recurring the Arsonist, preventing his attacks. He could make us attack with the next turn then. I suppose we should probably have brought it back or did something. Ugh. Misclick there. Okay, so, I mean, now we could consume the Azure Mage, which I think we probably need to really get on doing. He could have the mana leak for it. Otherwise, I mean, we could bring back the Arsonist, but I think it's better to try to kill the Mage. Since we're still, racing fairly well, we just need to make sure that can deal with his Mage here. We don't want him to start drawing cards. Okay, yeah, his Alluring Siren is pretty good here. Luckily, well, let's think about what's the play here. So if he swings us to 4. If we attack with, so we get him to 7, play a 2/2. Need to be able to do the last 2 points of damage, otherwise he's going to kill us. If we bring back the Arsonist and play it, we can whiff essentially 4 points of his damage. We go to 8, he goes to 7. And the next turn he'll go to 4. We should be able to block 1 more time. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better to bring back the Arsonist. Just gives us a little bit more options. Because, I mean, if we play the Dusk Hunter bat here, we're trying to race, and if he has anything, we just lose. So we don't have any shocks either, to pull us out of that. So it's not like we're drawing very well either. So I think we just bring back the Arsonist here. I mean, here if he attacks, what we could do is we could block here, drop him to 6, next turn attack, get him to 3, play one of these idiots, and then block, and try to close it out. So I think that's probably our best plan.